Hey, thanks for clicking on my video. 𝗧-𝗦𝗧𝗧 here, and apparently there's a way to get at least 34 megahash out of a 1660 Super. So if you have one of those 1660 Supers, you know that normally you'll get between 31.5 to maybe 32.5 megahash out of them while mining Ethereum. Well, if you have a Hynix memory one, then you're actually in luck. So it used to be that the Hynix ones were the strange ones where you have to like pull the memory clock all the way down and you get that 31.8 megahash, while if you have Micron or Samsung memory, you pull the memory clock, you know, up to like 1000, 1200, and you usually get maybe 32.5 or something like that. So it used to be that the Hynix ones were the worst ones. However, and thank you to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on Discord that brought this to my attention, but there is a new BIOS for these Hynix 1660 Supers that let you get it to 34 megahash at least. So we're gonna try it today. And so luckily I have a whole rig of Hynix 1660 Supers here. But spoiler alert, I'm not gonna do this on all of them today. But let's try it. So we're gonna pick one of these MSI Gaming X 1660 Supers and we're gonna try it on that one. So let me just get that out of this rig and we'll get started. Alright, so I got the GPU right here and let's just plug it into our test bench and see what we get before, and then I'll show you how to flash the BIOS on this, and then we'll see what hash rate we get after. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so I have everything situated on our little like test rig here. Now I've got the 1660 Super plugged in on a riser, and then I have a 1070 plugged in on the motherboard here, because that is the only way I could get like video out, not through the 1660, because as soon as I plugged in the 1660 Super, there was no way to get video out from the motherboard. I tried every single BIOS setting I could find, but nope, just wouldn't work. So I plugged in an old 1070 on the motherboard, and that's now feeding video, and I've got the 1660 Super on the riser. Will flashing the BIOS of a GPU work through a riser? I don't know. We're about to find out, aren't we? But yeah, so let's jump into the computer now, shall we? Alright, so as you can see, we're on the computer now, and we have the 1070 that's feeding our video, and we have our 1660 Super plugged in. So let me just open up my browser here. And there are two pieces of software that we want to download. So the first one is GPUZ, which you can get from 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.com, and you just click the download GPUZ button, download, choose your nearest server, and it will download the installer like that. And the next piece of software that we want is the NVIDIA NVflash. So you can download that from 𝗥𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 here as well. So just click download, choose your nearest server, and it will download. Now I've already installed GPUZ on my computer here, so I'm not gonna walk you through how to do that, but basically just double click the executable and go through the installation process. It's like installing any software. I'm sure you know how to install a software. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're just gonna open up GPUZ here, and as you can see we have two GPUs here. So I'm just gonna go to the 1660 Super, and then over here where it says BIOS version, I'm gonna click this little save BIOS button. So save to file. And I'm just gonna put that in my documents. I'm gonna make a new folder and call that backup 1. There we go. Alright, so that is our first backup that we're gonna do of the BIOS that's on our GPU currently. Oh, and by the way, here in GPUZ is where you can see if you have Hynix memory or not on your 1660 Super. So you see here how it says GDDR6 Hynix, that's how you know. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna extract NVflash. So I'm just gonna right click on the zip file, extract all, and I'm just gonna extract it right into my C drive, into a new folder called NVflash. There we go. So now if I go to this PC, go to my C drive, and then I have a folder here called NVflash. and in there I have the NVflash64 executable. Cool. Alright, so I guess now we're ready to flash the BIOS. But before we flash the BIOS on this 1660 Super, let's see the hash rate that we're getting with our current BIOS. Alright, so I got my batch file all set up with some basic overclocks here. We're locking the core clock at 1050 and we got our memory clock offset at -502, which is what you usually do with 1660 Supers with Hynix memory. So we're gonna save. Right, so let's run our miner and see what hash rate we're getting. Alright, and right off the bat we're getting the just super standard Hynix 1660 Super 31.8 megahash a second at 70 watts, which is exactly what you'd expect to get out of one of these cards. So let's wait for it to update once more and then let's flash the BIOS. Yeah, there you go. 31.81 at 70 watts. Super standard. So let's quit our miner and let's flash the BIOS. Now before we can flash the BIOS, we actually need to download the BIOS that we're gonna flash with. So here is a Reddit thread where you can find the like download links for the BIOSes. And so there's currently one for MSI GPUs and one for Palette GPUs. Now there have been people who have tried to flash other brands 1660 Supers with like these, and they have seen some success, but there might be some issues like the GPU won't report temperature or fan speed properly. So, you know, do this at your own risk. Even if you have a Palette or MSI GPU, this is still at your own risk. And if you're unlucky, you might end up with a brick. But hopefully the precautions we're taking with backing up the BIOS and stuff like that will negate those risks. But there is always a risk, so just be aware of that. But since I have a MSI 1660 Super, I'm going to download the MSI BIOS. There it is, and then I'm just going to drag that into my NVflash folder. So now in my NVflash folder I have the executable and the ROM that I want to flash. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to go into our device manager again, open the display adapters, and we're going to right click on our 1660 Super and we're going to say disable device, and we're going to hit yes. There we go. Now we're going to type down here again and we're going to put CMD to open the command prompt, and we're going to right click on this and run as administrator, and we're going to type in cd ... cd ... like so. So now we're straight in our C drive, and we're going to type in cd c:// NV, and you can hit tab to finish and hit enter. So now we're in our NVflash folder, and now to list our devices we're going to type in NVflash --list. We're going to type in NVflash64 --list. And here we can see we have our 1070, which we're using as our display output, and then it just says graphics device, which is because it doesn't know what it is because we disabled it in device manager. So that means the device number 1 is the one that we want to flash. So before we flash it, we want to save the BIOS that's currently on it again. And so we're going to do that by typing NVflash64 --index equals 1. That means we're doing this to GPU number 1, which is our 1660 Super, so we're not doing it to the 1070. And then we're going to type in save and then backup.rom and hit enter. Oh, I see what I did wrong. So I'm going to type in NVflash64 --index equals 1 --save. That's what I forgot last time. And then backup.rom. And your screen might flash a little bit like mine just did, but that's no problem. And now we see we got our backup ROM in here, which is just what we wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new folder here called backup 2, and I'm just gonna pull our new backup in there like that. So now we have 2 backups. That should be enough, right? All right, so now let's flash the BIOS on our GPU, and we're gonna do that by typing again NVflash 64 --index equals 1, and then we're gonna type -6, and that's the command that will like flash the new BIOS onto it, and then space, and then we're gonna type in the ROM name. So what we named this, well, it's just got a long name, but it starts with an M, so I'm just gonna type in M and then hit tab, and that will autofill it. And then we just hit enter and we're off to the races. And then it's gonna ask you if you really want to do this. Then you're gonna type Y for yes. And you can see the little progress bar down there. And the screen is gonna flash one more time. And that should be it. And it says a reboot is required for the update to take effect. So now we just gotta type in exit and hit enter. Oh, and by the way, if for some reason the flash fails during the flash, like, don't reboot your computer, just like keep trying until you get a successful flash, even if you have to try and reflash it with the original BIOS again to get it to work. You don't want to be like halfway through flashing the BIOS and then reboot your computer. Don't do that. So now I'm just gonna go back into the device manager, and I can see that the 1660 Super is actually enabled already again. So I guess it did that on its own. But I'm gonna reboot my system, and then let's see what hash rate we're getting. All right, so we are back. Let's start by first of all opening up our device manager to see, yeah, we have a 1660 Super showing up there, so that's good news. Now let's open up GPUZ, and we can see there it is with our new BIOS. Cool. So I guess let's just open up T-Rex and start mining and see what we get. So I'm just editing the batch file here, and we gotta change our memory clock now because we don't have to do that weird -502 trick anymore. So let's start standard with 1000 on our memory clock. Save that, and let's run as administrator and see what we get. Yeah guys, so there we go. Right off the bat we're getting 33.2 megahash instead. Now we are pulling a little bit more power. We're at 77 watts now, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep pushing the overclocks because I think we can go quite a bit higher than 1000, at least I hope so. And I'll check back with you when I found a sweet spot for overclocking. Alright, so I'm up to 1300 on the memory clock. We're getting around 34.6 megahash a second, and we're currently pulling 78 watts. So pretty decent. I think I'm happy here. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is, because I actually have another 2 of these MSI Gaming X 1660 Supers with Hynix memory, is I'm gonna flash those as well, so I'll have 3 of them, and then I'm gonna let those run, and I'm gonna see how many shares they're getting overnight, and I'm gonna compare that to my other 1660 Supers with Hynix memory. And then what I'm gonna do is, in the pinned comment for this video, I'm gonna type in my results, and then we'll see if this is actually legit or not. But that's gonna be the end of this video. If this video was helpful to you, then please give it one of these. I'd really appreciate it. And what you gotta do now is you gotta click on one of those videos on the screen, because this video is over. You can also click the picture of my face to subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. But yeah, go click on that next video and I'll see you there. Goodbye. Bye bye.